Okay, so I'm still trying to make a final decision about S14 and S18. I know that they are related to each other in terms of what they're talking about, but I've already decided that they are not saying exactly the same thing. So I think I'm going to try reformatting and see if that helps me make a final decision um, about which is the sub-conclusion and which is the final conclusion. I didn't even know I had something called a complex argument, but I guess I do. It'll be interesting to see in my other responses to the writing assignment, which I'm guessing she's going to have us analyze later as we build our skills. Maybe I'll have some more complex arguments, but for all I know, I have simple arguments after this one. Okay, so I know that she said, I know from the, oh wait, let me go look at my formatting conventions. Let me see what she said in module, the video for module, or the lesson for module, what was that? Module 1B. Okay, so yeah. Let me look at that master sheet that she told me to make, that master document with all of the formatting and principles and rules. And I think she had us write down some additional stuff elsewhere when she was walking us through the coaching videos on applying the formatting principles. Okay, so now that I'm looking at my notes, I know that I would never start a reformatted argument with a conclusion. So I think I'm going to start to reformat this way. Okay. So I copied and pasted because, of course, I don't want to get rid of the markup. I have to make sure that she can see my markup, and I still have to get back to this. But for right now, I need to leave this. I can't delete this. That's why I copied it and pasted it, because she said that 80 to 90% of my score comes from this part. Okay, so, but I still need to do this part to get the rest of my score, so let me start to reformat it without typing it up all over again. I just copied that. I know I'm going to have to separate each statement. Uh-oh, I removed the statement number off of this one. It was right here. So let's go back here. Okay. So I know neither one of these is going to be at the top. I don't know if they're in exactly in the right position, but I know that they're in the right area that they need to be. I don't know that this is the exact order that I'm going to state any premises, but I know they're more or less in the general area that they need to be. So I know I'll get at least partial credit, because I will definitely be ending with a conclusion, as I should when reformatting. And I will definitely not have a conclusion as my first statement when reformatting. I know you always have at least one statement that's functioning only as a premise, so I know I'll get at least that much credit. Oh yeah, she said that in the reformatted version of the argument, there should be no strike-throughs or any other kind of markup. So I shouldn't have bracketing. She said the only thing that stays there is the statement labels. So I need to take out all of this because I crossed it out. I'm saying that's excess verbiage. That's a little d, but I have to use proper writing mechanics, so I must now capitalize that. I have to change the statement number of 15 to, for right now, premise 1. I might change that. Okay. So I'm starting to clean this up. Maybe after I clean this up, this will help me to see what I need to see to make final decisions. So the definition I'm using for free will, the power, okay. So that's a sentence fragment that would, if there wasn't that colon mark, I would have 2 sentence fragments. But even then, it kind of feels like a sentence fragment. How can I fix this? Because I remember I took off part of got rid of a hedge and a premise indicator, but then it seems like I destroyed the statement to some extent. But that wasn't due to bracketing. That happened when I got rid of excess verbiage. So what I realized I have to do is I just need a little verb there. The definition for free will, and I need to say the definition I am using for free will is, should I get rid of I am using? No, because other people might have their own definitions of free will. So I need to make it clear that that I know that I'm using a definition I have chosen. So remember, she said, don't get carried away with eliminating stuff. So that's not, I don't need to focus on things like that when it comes to eliminating stuff. Okay, so getting rid of this discount, because of course I have to be consistent. If I crossed it out in the paragraph form, I have to leave it out when I get down here. So statement 16 is maybe premise 2. I have to get rid of this. Again, don't want to get crazy with excess verbiage, so I don't want to do something like say, oh, let's get rid of can. Because I guess what I'm saying is it's possible. I'm not saying just that I decide. I'm saying this is a real possibility. It's an actuality. It's part of reality that I can do this. Can. I'm able to. It's within my power. Okay, so then statement 17 might be premise 3. Again, I have to get rid of the opening bracket, use proper writing conventions. Okay, then I've got statement 14. It's going to be some kind of conclusion, but I don't know what kind, so I'll put a question mark. Then I am sacrificing my own time to learn for the benefit of my children, of my own free will. Okay, and then again, I have this here. I don't know which conclusion it is, but I know it's a conclusion, so I'm going to, let's get rid of that strike through. Get rid of that, proper writing conventions, capital M, put a period here. Okay, so I forgot to separate that statement. There's 2 statements earlier. Right here, there were 2 statements, and I had left them together. So I guess, so there's, now that's on its own line, free will. Okay, so I'm not sure what kind of conclusion. This one I said was repeated. It's a conclusion repeated, and I said it's repeating this one. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And in fact, I see that I didn't even cross that out. I forgot to cross it out. So let me go back and cross this out. Because it's repeated, I have to count this as excess verbiage, but I still have to label it because it was functioning as something. So this is the rare instance where you cross out a statement that has been labeled as a premise or conclusion. Why? Because it's just repeating, but I still said what it's repeating, a conclusion or a premise. Okay, glad I caught that. Okay, so now let's get rid of, so that means none of this will be in here. Okay, so let me read through this. So I have the definition I'm using for free will is the power of acting without constraint of necessity, of fate, the ability to act according to one's discretion. Oh, I forgot my closing quotation mark. That's not good. I know I had it in my original, but even then, if I didn't, good writing mechanics requires that if I start with an opening, if I start a quote with opening quotation marks, I need closing quotation marks. Okay, so I can decide at any point to prioritize my own learning. No one is physically forcing me to turn away from my own studies. You know what? I think that when I said I decide at any point, I'm trying to say I do have the ability to act at my discretion, because discretion means that it's up to you, to your judgment, to decide to do something. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, that I have the power to act according to my own discretion when I decide. And I say no one's physically forcing me. I think maybe that goes back to where I said the power of acting without constraint of necessity. Constraint. No one's constraining me. Nobody's keeping me from doing something by some means. So then I have, I am sacrificing my own time to learn. Okay. My sacrifice meets the definition I'm using for what it means to do something of my own free will. So it looks like here I'm saying that given this definition and given these 2 points, I'm saying that all of this proves this part right here. Because why did I even state the definition of free will? Because I want to convince you that something, that a sacrifice that I'm making is of my own free will. So I think this is the sub-conclusion. I think this is a sub-conclusion in my argument. I wonder if my other arguments are going to have complex arguments. I kind of hope they don't, because it might be easier. Okay, so I think this could be the answer. I don't think I should have italics here anymore. There's no reason for that when I'm clarifying an argument, no matter what. So I've got the definition I'm using for free will is the power of acting without the constraint of necessity, of fate, the ability to act at one's discretion. Premise 2, I can decide at any point to prioritize my own learning over my kids. I think that speaks to that part. No one is physically forcing me to turn away from my own studies and focus on theirs. I think that speaks to that part. And so I'm concluding that on the basis of 2 and 3 reflecting what is stated in premise 1, that my reality meets the definition of acting with my free will, then based on all of this, I am saying this is true. I think this is what I was going for. So S15, which is premise 1, does support S14 which is a final conclusion, but I see that S16 and S17 were actually working jointly with S15 to argue for S18 and then S14. Interesting. Okay. All right, so if I was to do an argument diagram, I think I'm going to go for extra credit. Of course, I have to still employ uniform language, but I'll get back to that in a minute. And I still have to go back and deal with that, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I know that this is probably the core of my argument. So I'm going to say S1, a premise, works together with S2, another premise, works together with S3, another premise, and I think I want to make sure I do things the way she has taught me. So I really want the extra credit. Underline that. Oh, I didn't underline that. Okay, give me a second here. Okay. How the heck am I going to do a downward arrow? Let me just try. Hopefully this format's over. I think she'll be pretty generous. She'll know that it's hard to create this diagram. But at least let me show her that I tried. I'm not going to just not do it. I'm going to show her that I at least tried. I don't, maybe the V. Oh my gosh, I'm going to use the downward V. I'm being so creative and using my imagination. Ta-da! Not perfect, but she can see that I am attempting to do it the way she taught me. Because this is something that I know she taught me how to do the other stuff. I should be able to do it as taught, but this part. So then I'm going to do so then I'm going to do, oh, I am doing this wrong. I have to do statement numbers according to what they were in the ordinary argument. So what was premise 1, premise 2, and premise 3? That was 15, 16, 17. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot about that. She might not have given me credit for that because I'm forgetting what she emphasized in class. So I needed to say statement 15, statement 16, statement 17. Okay. Let me make sure I've got those correct. Yep. Are being used to support statement 18, a subconclusion, which is being used to support you know what, I think she can see that I'm doing a downward arrow. I'll get rid of that. But I still want to show her that I'm trying to make an arrow. Okay. And that was all in support of statement 14, the final conclusion. Now, of course, I could have used the version of statement 19. So let's go back up here. Should I have used the statement 19 version of the final conclusion? I'm making the respective sacrifice freely. Well, then I'm going to still have to employ uniform language because what sacrifice am I talking about? This is much more precise. So I might as well just use this version of the statement. So yeah, I want to say statement 14. But if I wanted to show off, I could say repeated later as statement 19, just to show off. Okay, now, what else do I have left to do?